Morning all, I'm Alex, Operations Analyst at MCS, and welcome to the second instalment of the MID development sessions. So these sessions are going to be a series of webinars that we're going to host on a regular basis, covering various aspects of the MID, and we're also going to use these webinars as like an opportunity to provide previews of any new MID updates before they go live. Just so we're giving the heads up to installers really of what's coming. We also want to use these webinars as a platform to engage with our installers, and we welcome any sort of feedback about the MID, even if that includes any features you as installers think that we should introduce. So if anyone missed last week's webinar, we provided a preview of the basket function, which you'll probably notice went live on the MID yesterday. There is a recording available of that webinar if anyone does want to catch up and watch that. So it'll be on our YouTube and also on a library that we're going to set up on the website as well. So we want to keep these webinars fairly short and sweet. And for today, I'll be providing guidance on the IWA IBG product range, which is currently available for purchase in the MID. So these policies have been available for purchase in the MID since about late last year now, but we just want to provide like a recap really, and hopefully it might answer any long-standing questions installers may have had in relation to the policies. So in terms of agenda for today's webinar, I'll start with a brief overview of the policies, and then I'll go into the MID itself just to show you how an installer can purchase an IBG for an installation when they're raising the MCS certificate. And then the webinar will finish with a Q&A session, just in case any questions have come through, I can answer those. These questions can be anything MID related, by the way. It doesn't necessarily have to be to do with IBGs, so please ask away. I'll do my best to get through most of the questions, of course, depending on how many we get through. But either way, afterwards, we'll be providing like a written summary of the questions and answers, and we'll share these after the webinar. A few installers asked last week as well whether recorded versions of these webinars would be like available to watch after. The answer is yes, and the recorded versions will be posted on our YouTube channel, as well as on a video library that we're going to build into the MID support page on our website. Also, we'll be emailing all attendees from today with like a link to this recorded video, along with the written summary of the questions and answers. So I'll just begin with a quick overview about the policies. So as most of you will know, the requirement to raise an insurance backed guarantee for each installation you carry out under MCS is stipulated by the consumer codes associated with MCS, so REC or HIGHS, but there's the exception of commercial installations where providing an IBG isn't mandatory. Installers would then provide that insurance policy to their customer, which will provide the customer with cover in the event that the installer ceases to trade. So essentially the policy will back the original guarantee given by the contractor. So there's a variety of IBG providers that installers can purchase IBGs from. So as well as IWA, there's QANW, CPA, as well as others. HIGHS, they have their own insurance, which their members are obliged to take out. So this particular IWA IBG product range is completely optional to purchase through the MID. The reason why we've collaborated with IWA in this instance to make these policies available through the MID was to make them cheaper and just to make the process simpler for installers really. This is also part of our strategy to make the MID like a one-stop shop, where installers can purchase more than an MCS certificate through the MID. So if an installer chooses not to purchase these particular IBGs through the MID, they'll just need to ensure that equivalent insurance is in place with another provider, of course, unless it's a commercial installation where the IBG wouldn't always be required. So these particular IWA IBGs are available for purchase through the MID, and they extend to all technologies under MCS's scope, except for micro CHP and wind, and they also cover domestic as well as commercial contracts. And then there'll be varying premium fees per technology type and also installation type. It's also important to mention as well that this IBG product range is for the insurance of workmanship only, and the deposit protection elements have been separated out. So this is what makes these policies slightly cheaper. If deposits are taken for work though, they do need to be protected still, but we just recognise that deposit protection is possible in other ways. So for example, if a deposit's taken with a credit card, this would remove the need for additional deposit protection, which will in turn reduce the cost of the IBG. Also, the installer would still have the choice to purchase deposit protection insurance separately from another provider. They just need to speak to a provider directly. So next, I'm just going to load up the MID just to show you how these IBGs can be purchased. So I'll just share my screen. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see that now. So this is just on our installer training account in our sort of test environment of the MID where we do testing and things like that. So I'm just going to go through like a new certificate, and then I'll talk about the sections relevant to the IBGs, and then I'll probably just skip over certain bits. So on the first page, it will ask for tech type, installation type, and cost of installation. So all of these will influence the cost of the IBG. So I'll just begin with the domestic solar PV as an example for now. Okay. And then you just click next, and then there'll just be like a checkbox you need to tick just to confirm that that information is correct. Okay, so then you'll be brought to step 2, where you'll have the choice to purchase an insurance backed guarantee that's provided by IWA. So if you weren't interested in buying one of the IBGs, all you need to do is just ignore this essentially. Click next, and then there'll be sort of like a disclaimer, like a tick box just saying you've opted to not purchase an IWA IBG, and you just need to confirm that you're going to put equivalent insurance in place with another provider, or that it's commercial, so it doesn't need one. So I'll just go back and just show you what would happen if you did want to purchase an IBG. Okay, so you just need to tick this box, and then there'll be a drop-down menu in the options column, and then you just click please select, and then you'll see the range of IBGs that you can go for. So there'll be different cover periods, so 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, all different prices, of course 2 years being cheapest at £15, 10 years 60 for solar PV. I think all the technologies have this sort of range of cover periods apart from heat pumps. So I think with heat pumps you can only go for a 2, 5 or a 7 years. So if you did want to go for an IBG, you just go that, select that and click next. Then I'll just go back and change this to air source heat pump just so you can see how the technologies vary. So yeah, like I said, there's only a 2 year, 5 year, and a 7 year, and you'll see that they're slightly more expensive than solar PV because the technology type and policy fees do vary. Moving on to commercial contracts, the pricing structure is slightly different for commercial installations compared to domestic. So the IBG policy fee for a commercial installation would be 1% of the total cost of the installation, subject to a minimum fee based on the domestic policy value. So in terms of the minimum fee, it would be the higher amount on the domestic. So for example, solar PV, it would be 60, air source heat pump, it would be 80. So if a commercial contract was 8,000, the IBG policy fee would be £80. But say if it was 5,000, as 1% of 5,000 would be 50, and that's below the policy minimum fee of 60, the price would sort of default as 60. So I'll just go back just to show you what that would look like on the MID. Okay. So yeah, you'll see that the MID sort of done the calculation for you, and 80 quid has been defaulted there. And also just to note, for all the commercial policies, the cover period is 10 year for all technologies, so you won't sort of have that that drop down menu there. So for the remainder of the certificate, I'll just skip through certain bits until we get to one of the end stages. Okay, and I'll just pull up the MCS office. Okay, so then you'll eventually get to the policy owner stage. So this is where you'll be asked to enter the system owner information. So the reason why we kind of need this this information is to pass this over to IWA so that they can raise the policy. This information won't be on the certificate itself. It's just held in like the back end of the certificate and also on a report that we pull off every Friday and send to IWA. Also, just to mention, this step will only appear if you have purchased an IBG. Otherwise, it will just be that like disclaimer box again that you have to tick just to confirm that you're going to raise equivalent insurance with another provider, or that the installation doesn't need one because it's commercial, for example. So in terms of the information you'd need to put in, so system owner name and system owner email address, and you'll see the installation address has been pre-populated. So if the installation is domestic and you've contracted with like a homeowner, for example, you just enter the homeowner's name and email address, and then IWA would email the policy to the customer's email address. If the customer didn't have an email for whatever reason, you can leave that field blank because it isn't mandatory, and IWA would therefore post the policy to the installation home address. Alternative scenario, if the installation had been installed on a new build, for example, and it was commercial, and the property is therefore not occupied yet, we just advise entering the system owner name as whatever company you contracted with, so whether that be a builder or a housing association. And then for the system owner email address, you could either enter the builder, housing association's email, or the installer could actually enter their own email address as well, which would mean IWA would send the policies to them, and then they just need to make sure that the policies get passed on to the appropriate person. Generally, as long as like the system owner name is correct and it's not the name of the installer who's actually done the work, it's absolutely fine. So if the installer did want to have them policies first and then provide them to the customer in like a handover pack with other documents, that's absolutely fine. We've also been made aware that for Green Homes Grant installations, the policy information has to be uploaded to the Trustmark data warehouse, so we can understand why installers might need that policy as well as the consumer. So I'll just type this in for now. Okay. And then you would click next. And then you'll see that the IBG has been added with the certificate, and you've either got the option to now either just pay with PayPal, pay there and then, or you can add it to the basket to pay for that certificate with other certificates and IBGs. So in terms of when the customer would receive the IBG policy, we send over the data to IWA once a week currently, every Friday. So at the moment, we do say allow 10 working days for the customer to receive the policy. If for whatever reason the policy needs to be raised like urgently, so for example, if a Green Homes Grant voucher is about to expire, please just contact us and we will try and do our best to get that policy raised as soon as possible. So we'll liaise with IWA. Also, another thing, if you have purchased one of these policies, on the certificate itself, there will be an IBG section, and in this section, it will list the policy number, which is the same as the MCS certificate number, system owner address, installation type, and also the cover period. If you haven't purchased one of these IBGs, that section just has a short sentence instead saying that you're going to raise IBG with another provider, or the installation sort of doesn't need one. If anyone does want more info on these IBGs, there is a booklet available that we can share that has like a detailed breakdown of the pricing and things like that. So that is on our website, and you can just contact the help desk and they can provide a copy of this as well. So I'll just stop sharing and just see whether any questions have come through. Okay, no questions, so that's easy enough. So like I said earlier, there will be a recording made available of this webinar. So we'll be sending an email out to all attendees, and eventually that will end up on our YouTube page, and also in a video library on our website. In terms of next webinar, that will be on the 21st of April, where we'll be going through how to create a heat pump certificate on the MID. So hopefully that will be useful for those installers who are new to the scheme and aren't that familiar with the MID, but I guess it'll also be useful for those installers who've been on the scheme for quite a while but just kind of want to recap and things like that. So thanks for everyone who could attend today. Thank you for listening.